Did not copy Emily. This was written beforehand, but
Hold it up.
the disciples' journey is my first real experience in a group here at Zion, and it came in a time in my life when I needed it the most. The ladies in my group, there's a couple from back there, are a huge blessing. There is something about knowing that other believers are praying for you and praying with you, even outside of the regularly scheduled weekly meeting time. So I knew a couple months before starting this group that I needed to be baptized, but I kept pushing it off. So the week that we were studying about baptism, I'm pretty certain it leapt off the page, and I knew in that moment God was saying it's time. I can't tell you since being baptized how different things have been. I'm not going to say easy. Walking by faith is not easy, but I just see God's hand all over my life. I've had a couple other moments throughout the disciples' journey where I've needed confirmation from God on something, and I would sit down to read it for the day, and there the answer would be.
If you could look out, and I won't make you look, all right? But imagine you were looking at them all in the eyes. What kind of encouragement would you want to leave with everybody today?
First of all, with living with anxiety for so long, I have realized more recently that it is coming from a ton of fears that have been built up over the course of my life. I had myself packed inside a small box, so to speak, sometimes afraid to leave my house. If that's you, I encourage you to just take a small step. My counselor had me start by walking to my stop sign twice a day. Just in case you're wondering how far my stop sign is from my house, I could almost throw a stone to it from my yard. But what I found after a few times of pushing myself to do this was that I love to walk, and I started walking further and further. And now I walk around town instead of just to the stop sign. Even though it can be super scary, I'm finding out that pushing through fear is worth it because on the other side, there is always a blessing. And if you can't do it alone, ask someone to support you while you start. Take someone to the stop sign with you. Don't ever suffer alone. God will send his helpers when you need them. For me, that's been a counselor, an amazing family, and an army of friends. In my darkest moments, they have just shown up, and all I can think is, wow, God. Your story may not look like mine, but men and women are both struggling with a variety of different things, so please reach out to someone for help regardless of your sex. Suffering in silence is a pathway for destruction and exactly what the enemy wants. The beauty is that we have a God that's bigger than all of it, but you have to take the first step to allow him to send his army. So I'm going to leave you with my favorite verse. It's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths.
That's great. I got nothing to add. That was great, Kim. Thank you very much for sharing.
You gotta go hide now.
No, don't hide. Yes, absolutely. That's a life-altering moment for Kim. I know it. I know it to be true. So, awesome. Well, I'm going to invite my friend Becca and my new friend Sarah to come up. Come on up. I'm gonna just be more of an observer. Come on up, Becca. Which side do you want on, Becca? You want?
Trent.
You want? Sarah, you sit here. You sit here.
Let's take a little look at this.
Well, I thought about you, Becca, so I'm prepared.
Thank you.
There you go. That's a little bit easier. I'll even back this up there. So we decided to turn the tables a little bit. I'm not going to be the interviewer. Becca is going to interview Sarah, tell a little bit of the story, and I'm just going to listen. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know what's coming in this story, but I've been told it's really good. So, Becca, no pressure.
Got it.
All right.
It is a good story, and I'm excited. I like you sitting up on that little tuffet up there.
It's bright.
It is bright. It is bright. That's one thing is you
Why I
can't
sweat
see
so much.
anybody's face out there. So. So I had a plan for this morning, and then God woke me up at 5 o'clock this morning, and he was like, this is a little bit more about obedience as well. And so obediently I said, okay. Are you good? So
I think so.
there we go. So in the disciples' journey, that this 12-week study, we're starting week number 10 with our small group, and but when this all started, for several months, I think it seemed like a longer time than that even. There was information about signing up to do this, and we've been through all kinds of training and everything else, and I'm aware that I fit the spiritual parent category, and I enjoy that role a lot. But right now, we're building a house and selling a house, and I foolishly moved 22 miles west of Clarion, 22 miles away from my church. So the idea of doing something else during this time that seemed kind of stressful, we're in one of those hurry up and wait. We get all these things done and then we wait, but it seemed like a lot to do something else, to lead a group as a spiritual parent during this time. So, and I have a little bit of trouble with obedience about filling out forms. I don't know if there's anybody else like that, but
True.
I don't like to fill out forms. I don't like to fill out blanks, and there was a whole workbook full of blank pages, that I was going to work through. So I was a little reluctant. So on the very last day, your lovely wife was in our women's group that meets at 9 o'clock, and she had paper forms. I no longer had to do an online form. She had a paper form and a pen right there in front of me. And, I began to think about that, and I reluctantly, and I believe I called it to her. Is Pam here? Where are you there? I called it your stupid form. Do you remember that? So I filled out her stupid form, and I wasn't sure what God was going to do with that. And part of my struggle was because we meet at 9 o'clock on Sunday mornings as a women's group, and we've been doing this for years, and I feel it's really important. It's something that I value, and we've had a lot of life-changing experiences during that hour, and I knew that a lot of the discipleship groups, out of necessity, were going to meet during the 9 o'clock hour, but I still felt that I needed to be there for people who didn't have a group or who were coming in, or if their group met at another time, and so I struggled with that. When I realized we could keep that, I could have both. He was giving me cake and ice cream if I did this. I said yes, but I didn't know where that was going to lead, okay? So I signed the stupid form, and I come to worship service. And this is where Sarah comes in. Someone came and said to me, "Sarah's here." And I was like, cool. What Sarah? I know a lot of Sarahs. And so at the end of the service, I realized that it was Sarah Stewart. Sarah is a friend of mine, a dear friend of Kara's. She serves on the art board with me in Ellington. She lives 18 miles west of Clarion. And so I saw her at the end of the service. She was excited, and she kind of blew me away because Sarah had chosen to come check out Zion. She hadn't been attending a church regularly. She's dated a lot of churches, right? Looking for the right fit. And Kara and I had been praying for her because Sarah has quite a story that we're not even going to talk about today that I hope you get to hear in the future. But anyway, she had decided to come try out church, but she planned it on a day Kara wasn't going to be here because, and this is very Sarah, she wanted to see if she liked the church, not just because Kara was in it. She wanted to see if if it was a fit for her regardless. So anyway, we meet at the end of the service, and this is where I'm going to ask you to tell me your impression then from that day. What happened from that day in church?
Well, it was a hard walk. Like I said, I've dated a lot of churches. I have found God with a very deep relationship with him, not at a church, mostly at Children's Hospital. So the point of going to church to find God seemed kind of, I don't know, not necessary.
Why are you looking at me? Look it up there. Don't tell him. Don't tell me.
So I've gone to churches off and on, but really no commitment. And that morning I was just led, and I did. I came when I knew Kara wasn't here, because if Kara said, "You should come," I'd probably be like, "Okay." So I wanted to come for me. I came late on purpose. I snuck in the back seat, and and I've been wanting to do a book study because I'm a big nerd. And so as soon as he started talking about the disciples' journey, I was like, oh, well, that's cool. I'll do that. Not knowing it was a 12-week commitment or the commitment that was going to come regardless. So he's holding up this book and talking about it. And so as soon as I see Becca at the end, I was like, tell me about this book study. And she's like, I will gladly do that. Let's get a seat.
Well, I thought it was so funny because, I reluctantly signed the stupid form, not knowing what God was going to do, and then he was like, here's Sarah. And I already love Sarah, so that was awesome. And as far as, where we were going to meet, she lives 18 miles west of Clarion, which, I don't think is a coincidence, because making another 4-mile round trip to Clarion a week, it wasn't easy, with gas and everything else. Anyway, so from that then, we've got Sarah, and I was like, well, what's going to happen is Kara's going to have to come because we've got Sarah, so there's that one. And so then I mentioned it to 2 others, and they're here also this morning. Rachel and Kathy are here, and I'm so excited. But they're 2 women from my neighborhood. I'm really feeding here. There are 2 women from my neighborhood who live 22 miles west of Clarion, and they attend other churches. So the discipleship group didn't look normal, for what was happening here. But we decided, when I asked one of them, I didn't have the words out of my lips before she said yes. I was like, okay, thank you, Lord. I asked the other one, and her answer wanted to be no, but then what she said was, God told her that if she was going to spend eternity with me, with others, she might as well get into relationship in this group. So I like that as well. So the problem of location was solved because we meet 22 miles west of Clarion weekly, and we're on week 10. So Sarah, then from that, the joy of this has been, if all children were like you in learning, we would all be so excited all the time, because Sarah is the most eager student, and she has just grown by leaps and bounds. And so I asked her what changes, of course I know the answers to these, but for this morning I asked her what has happened during this journey. And she sent me an itemized list of 7 items, because she is a nerd, and I love that about her. So, can you just tell me what effect has this journey had on you and on your life?
Well, when I signed up for the book study, I thought it just was going to tell me how to be a gooder. I'm a homeschooling mom.
And she does really gooder than she used to.
I am a better Christian. Like I said, I had a good relationship with God, but I was like, oh, maybe there's something else I should probably be doing, or maybe I could be gooder at something. So we met, and I loved the group that we had. It was, and we had soup, and that's great. And so we're meeting, and I read, and I think it was the 2nd week that I came, and even though there was things that we were supposed to be talking about, I was like, hold on. So I have a job to do? I was completely blown away that having faith in God wasn't the only checkbox that I had to do, and I was a little frustrated. I felt guilty that I never knew that there was something I should be doing. My husband and I have a story of strength that we never signed up for as parents, and I've told that story off and on, and I thought that was a good thing to share our story. But what I didn't realize was it was not our story, it was God's story, and it was meant to be shared. And every time I shared it, I was a disciple, or I was discipling, though I didn't know that's my job or what I was doing. So I think it was the 2nd group study that I was like, hold on. So this is this, and this is it. And I have so many more questions. And I think after 15, 20 minutes of Becca of rapid fire giving me answers, she's like, well, let's go back to what we were supposed to be talking about, and we'll get to all of these throughout the course of the journey. So though I signed up for it, I didn't expect to learn as much as I did. One of the big things was I signed my name under the little contract, or the commitment at the beginning of the book that said you have to be part of a church for 12 weeks. So that alone, this is the most I've attended church. I think my family would probably agree they like church-going Sarah versus non-church-going Sarah, because I always felt guilty if I didn't go to church, and then I took that out on my family, and I was cranky. Now I really enjoy going to church. I enjoy spending time with my family. And not only for me doing this disciples journey, but I've reprioritized, including going to church. And we now, not only me, but my 3 daughters have scriptures on their mirrors in their bedrooms and our bathroom mirrors so it's kind of remolding me, but it's also having a rippling effect on everybody in my life, including our small group that's all here because of this book.